What's up, YouTubers? This is Rash116. Alright, today's topic, this is my first YouTube video, by the way. Today's topic is going to be actually a game review. Now, this is going to be a game review from a game that has been out for quite some time, but I felt the need to do my own personal review after spending a decent amount of time with it. Some of y'all might know this game. Those of you who don't, probably should check this out. It's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, game made by Infinity Ward and Activision. Alright, so first things off, everybody wants to know the story mode. The story mode's actually pretty good. I actually found it to be fairly action-packed. Although it was a bit shorter than I would have liked, it was a good experience. It was good for what it did. Now, some things that, besides the length, that I think they could have done is, while the special ops mode was good, I think that it would have been better if they had taken away some of that and added to the story mode. Because, like, I've heard a lot of other people say the story mode in Modern Warfare 2 was not as strong as the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, also with that, well, actually, no, let's move on to that. We'll get, y'all will play the story mode anyway. Alright, on to Special Ops mode. For those of you who don't know, Special Ops is a separate mode besides the multiplayer and story mode that involves like separate little missions, sort of like in the first Modern Warfare with the, I forget what it was called, but it was the last very mission, the Mile High Club, that's what it was. There's like a special mission offset from the game, from the tone of the game and everything, but they felt that it was a good experience. So in Modern Warfare 2, they just give you a whole bunch of missions that aren't necessarily tied to the story, but are just pretty much fun to play. Now, it's a very good idea, and the way they did it was very good with the difficulty settings, making things not necessarily harder with like the enemies and everything, but with the actual challenge of the missions, like the time that they gave you, the amount of space that was in between objectives, and just the intelligence of the AI. Now, there's a good amount of missions. There's probably around, like, I think 60 some odd missions. I know there's 69 stars that you can get. I don't know what they were trying to imply with that, but take that for what you will. Now, on to the big guns. The multiplayer. Now, actually, I'll first start with the weapons. The weapon selection in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is actually pretty good. Although I did find some things to be less than what I was hoping for. While there are a lot of weapons, there are some types of weapons that I think that they should have put more of instead of having only like, they only have like 4 pistols. Two of which are two of which are very similar to each other, and another two that are very similar to each other. Meaning there's only really 2 guns that you can choose from for pistols. And they have like probably around 12 or 13 different assault rifles, only a few submachine guns, like 6 or something like that, maybe a little bit more. But the weapon selection is good and it is relatively diverse, but I think they could have had a bit more weapons and more gadgets for you to use. Um, Stemming from that slightly, the one thing that I've never liked about Call of Duty are the reloads. Like, if you're on a half clip or if you even fire 1 round and you reload, all you do is pull out the magazine and put it back in. Now, for those of you who are maybe gun enthusiasts, rifle enthusiasts, whatever you are, or if you even know the least bit about weapons, 90% of you are going to know that it doesn't just take a magazine to pull out and put back in to reload and be able to fire your weapon. You actually pull you actually pull the release and all of that, rechamber the round with the charging handle. I think in that happens only if you do expend all your ammo, which I personally don't like to do because I like to always have a full clip, which you definitely will need because you're not going to want to go around the corner and have 2 rounds and get screwed over. So yeah, reload your weapon. But I'm rambling. Anyway, I think Infinity Ward, what they need to do is really, if they're gonna be a military game, if they're gonna have all the realism of the outfits and whatnot, they need to have their things together. They need to have the reloads together. Because I mean, even games that maybe aren't as strong as Call of Duty and the Call of Duty franchise have better reloads and just more realism to the gameplay and everything. Like, even though like a lot of people will say, oh, it's not all that. Killzone 2, like the reloads in that game, it doesn't matter what weapon you're using, how you're using it, what type of ammo how much ammo you have, is gonna be the same full reload every single time. But anyway, to the multiplayer, very very deep and enriching experience. There's a lot of things for you to level up. There's a lot of ways for you to level up. Well, actually, no, there's not a lot of ways for you to level up, but there's a lot of things for you to unlock, and depending on your play style, you may unlock things faster than others. Um, a lot of the perks that you get. Oh well, sorry for the attachments that you unlock for. The more you use your weapon, and the more you get kills with your weapon, the more points you get for that weapon, and the more you'll be able to unlock different things for your weapon, like red dot sights. Some things are sights, some are suppressors, extended magazines, things to make your gunfire stronger, faster, um, things like that. Those are typically very good to unlock, and you're gonna need them. Um, the perks are pretty much things that allow you to get a slight edge on maybe your competition. It just allows you to do or have different things that other people that are on the battlefield will probably have, but you can set up your attachments and everything the way you want for the most part. Personally, my favorite blue perk is going to be Bling, which allows you to have two attachments instead of one, which another thing that I don't like about it is that you can only have two, which in real life you'd be able to put pretty much whatever you wanted on your weapon, however you want it. Like you could have two attachments on your rail, on your side rails, an attachment for your side, or two even, if you're using like a red dot or an EOTech sight, and maybe an ACOG or something, night vision scope, whatever, and maybe an undermounted M203 or maybe front grip. Um, yes, I know a lot about weapons, but we'll get onto that to a different type of YouTube video. And so, yeah, Bling would probably be my favorite blue perk. Red perk would probably be stopping power or hardline. Pretty much a lot of people use that. It's very good. And my yellow perk would probably be either Commando Pro or Steady Aim Pro, which a lot of snipers use. Oh, that reminds me, sniping in Modern Warfare 2, or just shooting in general. One thing that I think they should do, even though I know the ranges probably wouldn't allow for that, um, like in Killzone 2, I hate to bring it up, but I mean, Killzone is pretty much the game that I've seen, one of the few games that actually does it. It actually has you compensate for the distance between you and your opponent. So if your opponent is moving in a straight line horizontally and you're aiming at them, you'd actually have to think about how fast they're moving and how fast the bullet would get to them and compensate for that and actually lead on your shots. With Call of Duty, you can aim from God knows where directly at your opponent, and you'll pretty much, if you're within range of your weapon, you will hit them. I mean, yes, there's spread, but if you're aiming at them, you will hit them. There's no ballistics. There's no actual external ballistics for the bullets, which I think would be nice in a game that's supposed to be so engrossing in military realism and whatnot. I mean, it's at its heart, I'd say it's an arcade shooter. I mean, on the exterior, it looks like something that could actually be maybe a slight sim if you look at it from maybe a distance, But other games like the Battlefield series or the modern Medal of Honor series seem to have a more realistic feel to them, whereas Call of Duty feels more like something that you would play maybe at, I don't really want to say at an arcade, but it has that sort of feel to it, which I mean I think is good because that means that a lot of people can come into the game and actually have fun as opposed to other games that people have so much experience with that they would just dominate, which people tend to do, which I think is kind of unbalanced. Where a Call of Duty, I'd say, is more of a game, even though it does take a lot of skill. It at times it comes down to really what you have unlocked and what perks and whatnot that you have, as opposed to your actual skill. It's more of a game that people can just, like, you can give somebody and they can pick it up in a half hour and know how to do like a lot of stuff in there and actually do pretty well. But I think in the next iteration that Infinity Ward should focus more on their story and get that together, and then branch off, of course, into the multiplayer and refine that and just make multiplayer and story mode, not necessarily have the spec ops. Because I mean, like, I've played it somewhat, and the hard thing is actually getting other people online to play it. And I think that it'd be nice if you actually were able to play with your own skill rank. Like if they had a system, again, like Killzone 2, where you can actually play with only people of your rank or your playing level with you when you go online. I think that'd be a nice touch for them to have. But all in all, I think that Modern Warfare 2 is a very, very good game. It's a step in the right direction for Infinity Ward. Like their first game was very good, and all their past games have been good. But this one has really set the benchmark for a lot of games out there. And even for Black Ops, I played a little bit of Black Ops. Personally, I feel that Modern Warfare 2 is a better, more well-crafted game. So I'd say if you wanna, if you really have the money, like obviously just go out. Like this is definitely a game to pick up and buy, play it. If you don't like it, maybe go off into a different direction. But this is definitely a game. If you're new to the first-person shooter series, or just Call of Duty in general, you should probably pick this one up. It's not gonna let you down. Alright, this has been Rash116, YouTube. I thank you. Check out the video. If you want, subscribe. Peace and love all.